All right. So now we actually get to do an assignment. We have oh yeah, it's still working with the template, but it's an assignment. So if I go to my course here, let me see where I'm at on my modules for let me show you where I'm at. I'm just in the 1108 course right here. It's actually the first drawing assignment we will have actually produced. Everything that we've talked about this week has just been set up, and we're just at the verge. It's like a glacier ready to just break off and take off. But it does take a while to just get set up and get everything kind of formatted correct, just so we can we're gonna expand our formatting, but at least we can get to this point here, which is this assignment. And today, I found out that, in order to do this, if you already had some skills, and I think I only had this image showing this is what we need to create. And this is what it looks like in paper space without dimensions. You kind of needed to know the dimensions of how I kind of built this. And so this is, like I said, we're building kind of a simple t title block and yeah, and kind of a layout. So really, so you kind of needed this. This is what I need to have up on my other screen is that um I've essentially what my template really becomes is it becomes, a formatted paper space that is actually the correct size, in this case, 8.5 by 11. We've done that already. We've got a viewport ready to go. Excellent. I've turned off the grid on this one, I guess, because it doesn't show the grids, and which is okay. We kind of talked about all that. Looks like it's on the right layer. And then what we do is we come in and we build a border. Just a rectangular border that is essentially a half inch off of each edge. So this is stuff that you'll learn through this. This is that ASME, we use decimal inches as our primary units. And so in this case, our border is zero point 0.5 inches off of the edge of the paper all around. TYP is a uh, shorthand for typical. And it's kind of a real lazy way but very efficient way of saying that, hey, this is a half inch off this edge, and this is a half inch off this edge, and these are typical dimensions, which means that if what that why it's kind of dangerous to use this is because you sometimes use the person has to then assume like what does that apply to, and that means that over on this side it's a half inch, and then this bottom that isn't dimensioned it's a half inch. So these typical mean that, hey, all around this thing it's going to be a half inch. That's going to become our border, and that's going to separate the last video I was talking about how sometimes some people will creatively use the stuff outside the border for kind of team notes. And then inside the border is legal documentation stuff. So it's funny that any notes that would be outside the border are kind of like not part of the legal document per se. And anything inside the border is absolutely like legal. So um, and it kind of is establishing our own margins for plotting as well. So it's just nice, we don't generally have our borders all the way out to the edge when we like to print stuff. We like to kind of develop our own margins and not let the printer develop margins for us. So we're taking control of the entire piece of paper for our uses as drafters. Um, Looks like it's got, a little title block area that's just a half inch as well. And then we've got this segmented area like 4, 4, and 2 that I am allowed to put the assignment and my name and the date. Just some real bare bones like details. Um, Also on this, it should show that, hey, I hope these letters should be ASME, 1/8 inch height, um, text, and they should be Arial font. Everything's in everything's in capitals, capital letters. Essentially, what's going on here is that if I look at this as like fifths, this is an 11-inch wide piece of paper, which means it's 10 inches across here from blue to blue border widthwise. And that means that what I've done is I've kind of divided. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this upper line into fifths. And then this is like 2/5, 3/4, and this ends up being like 1/5 of that total distance, or 2 inches. So I'll use a few techniques just because it's good to, you could draw this a number of ways, right? We could all get to the same finish line of this, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to get there. So I need to know these dimensions in order to create this for the assignment. And technically, this is only showing the 8.5 by 11. Probably next week, I'll populate at 11 by 17 to make sure you've done the same thing. Um, so I'll probably just focus on the 8.5 by 11 in my video. And so I'm going to jump over to CAD. What I have open already is what you guys should have finished. Yeah, I think we finished it in class. Maybe you have to watch the video to absolutely finish what we did. Yeah, I think you would, because I've also in the the video that I showed where we didn't get to an actual class was that I also put in a font size here for text. And it's because the assignment I have some text on there. So and my template should already have all these things formatted on the annotate tab. But what we're going to do here over on the home tab, um, and the other thing we didn't do in class was we didn't have the B size sheet, but but I did on the video create my A size and my B size sheet. So I'm going to go back to my model space here, and I'm going to I'm going to draw this border in one-to-one drawing space here. So how we're going to do this is we're going to create that border, and now we have layers that we've built. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of like I'm going to put what the paper looks like here. I know I have it in the layout. I could go in there and look at the paper size, but I'm going to actually do that here. I'm going to replicate that backdrop of the paper size. So I'm going to choose my paper layer. I'm going to choose rectangle. I'm going to come up here. I could draw it maybe by coordinate point. Um, I don't. It's not going to matter though, because we're going to turn this into a block and then insert it into the layout. That's going to it's me dumping into the weeds a little bit early, but I promise that the if we jump into some of these sooner than later, I think it helps prevent some errors or some misunderstanding later. So I know we jump into the weeds a little bit, but just bear with me when I start to talk about make a block and insert a block. It's not as intimidating as you think it is. But first thing, I need to actually have something to I need to create something to make a block. Blocks on my main home tab. It's one of my main functions right here. And as we create this block, I'll show you what that does. But okay, so I'm gonna make a rectangle on the paper layer. I'm gonna just pick this point. I want it to be the paper size. It's 11 inches wide. Tab 8.5 inches, 8.5 by 11. Hit enter. There's my there's like now a model space view of what the paper looks like on the paper view. I'm going to move it just up into the positive coordinate area. Not that it has to be. I'm just going to do it out of my own habit. I'm going to move this up here just so that I'm in the X and Y over here. No, I didn't snap to grid or nothing. I just wanted that up in this area. When I jump back over here, I'll kind of see it. It doesn't fit there. It needs to be scaled down to fit. Fits a little bit better on this one, but I'm going to keep drawing here. There's the paper space. Or sorry, there's the paper look in model space. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create the border. Yeah, I'm going to create this border. I'm going to use some of my functions that I've learned about in my other videos where I explained the draw and modify command. I think those are the only two palettes I need to do this. Draw and modify, and maybe a little bit of adding some text, which is actually here. So I'm not getting out of what we haven't learned yet already. So I've got a rectangle. It matches my paper size. Let's create a border that was a 1/2 inch in all the way around. And what we use is this offset command on modify is super powerful. I can offset tons of different things, lines, different shapes. I can offset this rectangle a 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is choose the command. What do I want to offset? Or actually, if I watch my command line, how much? I'm going to specify offset distance. The border is a 1/2 inch away from the edges of the paper. So I'm going to say 0.5 is the distance and enter. Now it says, what are you doing? I know your offset distance, but what is it that we're offsetting? We're offsetting this rectangle. And it'll either let me off, like the way I pull my cursor, it'll let me offset it bigger than the paper. Well, no, that wouldn't work good. It would be off the paper. So I'm going to offset this thing in, and it's going to create this 1/2 inch border around my paper. So I'm going to say, yep, just drop it in. If I didn't like the input that I have the option while the cursor and the dialog box is highlighted blue. I could actually input a different number. With offset, it's always going to remember the last one you use. So it's always going to preload the last offset you use. And so Um, yeah, half inch is what I want, and it's offset it, and it's kept it on the same layer. It's really like it's an offset and kind of a copy. It's all on the same layer. We don't want that. The paper is just this like view of what the paper is, and what I really want is that to be on a border layer. So I have this layer up here that's border and sheet, and that's what that is. And that's why when I go to that assignment, it's blue. So if I click on this with my properties panel up, that was found right here, right? I've docked it though. So with that one, I can select it and push it to off the paper layer and onto the border layer. So where is it at? Border sheet right there. Excellent. And then just hit escape. Like that's all I needed to do. So now I've got a replication of the paper and I've actually got the border. Yeah. And how do I want to do this now? I wanted to show you, since we haven't even messed with our layers yet, but this is the brilliance behind layers is we can turn them on and off. It doesn't like you to turn off the one that you're on. So I'm currently on the paper layer. And how I know that generally is I always get that right here up at the top dead center. It shows me what layer I'm drawing on. And so it doesn't like to turn that off. It'll let you do it. It always gives you a warning like, hey, if you're going to turn me off, I'm the layer that you have on that you're active. So if I actually wanted to turn off the border one, I can here. I can just hit the bulb and that actually goes away. It's still there. It's not like I've deleted or anything. It's just this is the power of layers is being able to isolate, simplify, and good. Turn it back on. This is the warning you get if you try to turn off a layer that you're on. If I try to turn off paper, I get this, always will get this dialog box. The current layer will be turned off. What do you want to do more? And sometimes you want to not do that. So it's a good little warning that's always there. But sometimes you do want to turn off, and it's not that you can't; it just gives you the warning. So the problem with that is if you turn it off and it's a layer that you're on, and then you start snapping lines, they won't be there because it's turned off. So you won't be able to see what the heck you're doing. And that's why that dialog shows up. Is just so you know that if you start drawing with a layer that's off, you're not going to see anything. So with this now, what else we got to do is we need another line that's a half inch up from there. So there's a lot of ways I could do this. I think I'm gonna keep this as a polygon, right? If a single selection, this is a this is like a polyline created shape, and so it's all connected. One single selection will select the whole thing. I think I'm going to keep that like that, but I want to have an offset line above that. So I mean, there's ways you could do this. I could explode this and then offset that line and then rejoin it all together. And I could show that, but maybe I'll just draw another line. I'm going to move over to the border layer. So here's my border sheet layer. Now that's the active layer that I'm on. I'm going to draw a line. A line will be sufficient. I told you that probably in the future we'll probably use more polylines, but I'll just use a line. At this point, we won't be able to tell the difference, I don't think, this early on. But how I'm going to draw this line is I'm going to come down here with my cursor and have this like object tracking, my snap tracking's on, my polar tracking. Yeah. I've got snaps on. These are the snaps that I have on mine right now. It's a little bit excessive, but it's all right. I get a lot of options when I hover over stuff to snap. I'll leave it. But what I'm doing, I'm in this line command. This is a way you can draw a line kind of accurately, right? Like I've got to be accurate with my drawings. I've always got to be considered the dimensions that I'm trying to get. So it's not just some random placement of line. I'm going to, my line I want to be like right here, essentially, somewhere up a half inch above this one. So what I do is I come hover over here, hover over this, and then I start to pull in this direction. And I can input at the cursor the value here that I want. I want it to be a half inch above. And so that's what I did. I just input a half inch above from where I kind of targeted. I'm going to hit enter. It moves my cursor. It didn't draw a line there. It just moved my cursor up a half inch. And so now here I am a half inch above that line. And I'm just going to draw this across. That green line means I'm perfectly horizontal, and I want to terminate it here. And I might get a few different object snap options here. The one that's really showing up is perpendicular, which would keep everything, 90-degree corners. It would keep everything horizontal. Uh, it also gives me the option to input a dimension if I wanted it, but really I want it to terminate at that border edge. So I'm just going to click there. Now it wants me to keep the line command going, but actually I'm done with it. So I'm just going to say escape. And there's that start of the border. And then We just need to segment this in fifths, and there's a lot of different ways I could do that. I could come over here and with the measurements I've given you, you could do that same thing and like pull over 4 inches and then draw down and hook it to that. Or here's another thing that I want to show that's a little bit in the weeds is we can divide stuff. And the reason why I want to get into this is because one of the object snaps that's really useful, but it's kind of like something that's hard to see is node. Nodes appear for different reasons on objects, but I can create nodes if I cut and slice stuff up. The problem is the default node is super ridiculously small and it's almost invisible. If you ever create a node, it's almost virtually impossible to see it. So one thing I want to point out early on is under the utilities, still on the home tab, clear over where I measure, there's another buried little utility underneath here that's just called point style. And I don't know why the point style is set to be such a small, it's a dot. It's a dot that appears if I create a division or if I cut and splice some stuff and create nodes, the default is this like almost imperceivable little dot. And so I'm going to change my point style to I could change it to a lot, but I'm going to change it to this plus. And the point size, I guess, is going to be 5%. I don't know what that is. I'm going to say okay. It doesn't seem like I did anything, but I kind of just set a little bit of a point style format to be something bigger than a dot. Okay. And I'll show you how that shows up here. So this particular line that is an independent line of the others, I can divide it. I think I told you that it's kind of divided into fifths to create my title block. And so where divide is, it's always a keystroke. You can say D, and it doesn't show up there. So I keep typing like D-I-V, and then there's divide. It would finally show up with 3 keys. It does live on the ribbon menu though, but it's also kind of buried. But I show this early on because I do use this divide function quite a bit. So it's over on the draw menu, on the secondary menu. If you hover over these, I kind of already know what the icon looks like. It looks like that. I kind of saw it. Like I like that when you do put key inputs, you do pay attention to the little imagery that shows up. It kind of helps you start to memorize what things look like. But here's where divide lives as a command, divide. So I've chose it, select object to divide, my command line says. I'm going to choose this. Enter the number of segments. Well, in this case, 5 works good. I'm gonna divide this line into fifths, and then I'm gonna hit enter. And they show up. And so if I only had the dots, they would almost be this is why I changed my point style from a dot to a just kind of I don't know, what is it? A center mark, kind of. Yeah, this point style. And they're kind of independent, like each one is a different one. But what it's done is it's divided this line into fifths. It should have, or at least gave me an indicator, yeah, that it gave me an indicator of where that division would be. So I'm going to use these strategically. I could make this construction material, I guess. Technically, this I'm using as this is where my construction layer. I'm gonna select all these. I'm just walking through and selecting each one individually. So I've got all 4 of these, and then I can push these to a layer. I mean, I drew them on the border sheet layer. That's why they appeared here, but I can push them to the construction layer, which is where stuff like this kind of lives, is it's like I use it as construction material. I like the construction layer because it just disappears when I print and I don't have to worry about it. And I can turn it off when it gets a little bit too busy. So what we want is some other segments down here to break up, essentially to do this, to have an assignment, a name, and a date section of a title block. So I use that strategically. If I go back in, I really don't have to measure those, but you could. Like I say, there's a lot of ways to get to the same point. I'm still on the border sheet. I'm going to draw a few more lines. Here's one line. That's what a node looks like. It kind of looks like and it shows up as node. That is the imagery for an object snap of a node. It's kind of like uh, an X. It almost looks like something like a navigation wheel of sorts. But I'm going to click on that. And then I also want the perpendicular one to show up here. I don't want this to be crooked. I want to snap like this. Good. And then I'm just going to escape that. Escape. And that's not where I want it. Sorry. I just messed you guys up, but I'm going to fix it. And I really want it to be on the second one. I want this assignments tab to be so big, the name one to be bigger, and the smallest one to be the date. So I can just move this. Heck, we've learned move a little bit. Select objects to move this thing. Specify a base point. I can either move it by the top here or this bottom here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna move it by this little the center mark of that and move it to there. Excellent. No big deal. I moved it to there. Now I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna do a copy command. This one. Select that. Only that one is all I'm copying. Right click or press enter. And I'm going to copy it from that point, which means it's going to leave that one there. And I'm going to move it down to this point here. And then I'm going to say escape. So there is our title block now, almost ready. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my construction lines. Yeah, that's divided into kind of fifths, two fifths, two fifths, and one fifth. Excellent. Now we just need some text, an area to enter that text. So what we do here is as a general rule, anytime I add text, I like to do it through the. Let me think about this a little bit. I'm going to make a block out of this. I think, I'm trying to think if it's going to matter let's just do this here and see how it works. Um, I'm just going to add my text here. Normally I wouldn't. Normally I'd go through the viewport window, like I said in the last video, and mostly add my text and dimensioning, but I'm doing a little bit something different here because I'm going to make this into a block. So bear with me. I'm doing this a little different than I did the last semester, I think, or last year. I want to add a place to add the text here. So um, I'm going to add a multi-line text. What's nice about the annotation tab is it does have quick access to multi-line text or single line text. Most of my text I add on my prints, I feel like I use multi-line text more than single line text. This seems to be my go-to text style. It's almost creates a whole little Word document on your paper, kind of, um, or on your model or whatever. I also can do that here on the annotate tab. One of the first functions of the annotate tab is if I drop down is that multi-line single line text. So I like that they don't add all this to that quick access menu on the home tab, but multi-line text is one that's available. You're going to get this. I like that this is a disclaimer that says, hey, normally if you have annotated text style, you're going to want to add that through the viewport. It's kind of giving me an indicator that actually you wouldn't normally add that text the way you're doing it here. So let me back up and just, since I got this warning, let me escape and go to actually override that. Let's just see this. Let's just try this, see how it works. Multi-line text. Where do I want it? I want it right here. It's kind of like a little box of where the text is going to live. I'm just going to put it like right here to here. And then it opens up, like I said, your ribbon menu becomes very similar to what you'd see in Word or maybe in Google, like a Google Doc or a Word. You've got a ribbon menu that is kind of like you could write a whole story here if you wanted to. But I think the way I created this was I made sure that I chose um, I'm on my ASME 1.25 or 0.125 size of text. That's correct. It's annotative. And it's gonna, because I'm not on the text layer, it's gonna put it on the border layer. I can change that right here. It's like, well, where are you gonna put it? Well, I'm gonna actually, I don't want it to be on this layer. I want it to be on my dimension layer. Sorry, my text layer. Yeah. And I want it to be center justified, which is here. And then I want it to say whatever I want to say. It's got to say, I think it's just assignments. Capital. Maybe just assignment with a colon is what I had. This assignment is, I don't know, what does it say here? Inch template, 8.5 by 11. Okay. I'll call that. Inch template, 8.5 by 11. Excellent. The next thing I'm going to do, probably just because it fits in my box a little better, is I'm just going to put it on the second line down, I think. Let me click out of this now. So once I've kind of happy with this, I can click out. And yeah, I think just based off my half inch title block that I'm working in, and this is eighth inch text, that's gonna one space down will more or less center me in that. So that's just my strategy there was just to place that like that. Go in here for a minute because I told you I'm going to make a block. I'm already thinking ahead about I want this to become something that later I actually can add different assignment names to. So I might double click in here to actually edit your and then I can always escape or click out. But the way you get back into that text is just get your cursor over that text. Double click into there and you're ready to modify it like a Word doc. I'm gonna go ahead and like eventually I'm gonna name this one that, but I'm actually for just for a block or whatever, I think I'm going to do it like this, and so that I can use this on multiple assignments. And let's just see how this goes. I need another one that's a name. So I'm gonna add another multi-line text from here to here. I think I also want it to be on the text layer. I'm having to change that. If I would think ahead before I did this again, I wouldn't have to do that, but that's okay. It's easy to change it while you're in here. Center justify. This is going to be name who you are. With maybe just a colon or something. And I'm going to do the same thing where I just put it on the second line down. Center justified. If I click out of this now or escape, I have a place to put a name and hopefully it grows this way. And then date would be the last thing that would be in this title block. So let's do one more text box in this area. And we'll center justify. We'll also want that to end up on the text layer. So it's red and date on the second line. Yeah. Technically, this is what I'm really happy with. Yeah, I like this. I'm really not ready to quite to save. Yeah, I could save. If you've done this work, this might be a good way to save. Yeah, I think I will save here actually. Save. I know it's modifying my drawing. And if I come over here to this, it's not lined up. I'm actually not going to line it up this way. I'm going to show you how I'm going to bring this into this environment. This is kind of a unique first assignment, really. So what I'm going to do is now is on my home tab, I'm going to create a block. I just only used this thing to essentially offset my border. So I don't really need it. I could delete it. I could change it to construction. I have my construction layer off currently. That's what that dialog was telling me. Now I just kind of move that to construction because I'm going to turn it off. I don't want it to be part of my block. There we go. And really what I want to insert onto this is that title block, so it like matches on my paper here and not necessarily looking at it through the viewport. I actually want it to be on the paper. Like it's like I want to come out here and put that thing here so that it always lives on the paper and it's not anything that's associated with the model space at all. It's just like in the paper, on the paper. That's why I'm going to create a block out of this. And so what I do is I go over to this block and the way I always think about a block is kind of from an architectural standpoint is the reason why you create a block is if you're building a bathroom You wouldn't want to redraw a toilet over and over again. You would draw it once, create a block, and then insert that toilet as many times as you needed to, right? So for whatever reason, that's what's in my head. A block is like this drawing that I've spent a little bit of time creating, and then I just want to reuse it over and over in all kinds of drawings. And you really can build a blocks library, and there's tons of blocks available on Autodesk's website. Like there's been a lot of block creation. So, but this is us, starting from scratch. So I'm going to create a block, creates a block definition from selected objects. So I think I can just choose this as the command. It opens this dialog box. I'll bring over here. It wants me to give it a name, which is a good thing. You should be able to identify your block by the name. Um, we could say maybe this is the title block. Title block 8.5 by 11. It could say title block. Maybe more accurate would be title block ASME A size. I like that. So then I just go through this and select stuff here. So it's like base point. So when I go to place the block, it's going to want to know like when you're given access to place this wherever you're going to place it, where do you want to control it from? And it doesn't really matter, but it will allow me to pick a point. So I'll say I'll pick a point. Okay, where is it going to be? It's going to be, could it be the center? It could be. Sure. The geometric center, that's a great place. Could be anywhere. That's a nice one. So it's told me that's my pick point is the center of this. It does spit out some coordinates just so we can keep track here. I think that's all I need to worry about here. The block unit's going to be in inches. The objects, select the objects. I need to select objects. So I have nothing really selected yet. I just know where I'm going to pick. So I'm going to pick select objects. I'm going to do like a window, crossing window, and just, I need everything selected. So I clicked everything, right click or press enter, and then it's like, okay, I got all that. I'm going to convert it to a block. 7 objects were selected. The behavior, I think I can do this. Yeah. Annotative. This is where I might have to be kind of, I haven't done this. I can't say I've done this. Oh, I told you I'm trying to do it a little bit different way. Match block orientation to layout. It might be if I do this, it's going to scale uniformly. I'm just worried about my text being changed when I insert this block. So if I make it annotative, will my text, I'm going to choose annotative. We'll see if it's correct or not. It's going to be correct enough to start with, but this could be where I would come back to and maybe make an adjustment on a different on the block. Although once I create it and do what I'm going to do, I'm kind of have to maybe have to recreate it. I do want to allow exploding, so it just means it's not going to always remain as this like polygon with these. Like I do want to explode it so that I can get in and like modify the text especially. And so I'm going to allow it to be exploded. I'm going to say okay. And then it doesn't look like anything happened, but it did. It should create a block, and I should be able to see that from if I went to insert a block, it should now, there it is. It's like title block ASME. So it just shows up. This little drop down shows other blocks that you might have and some blocks from libraries. So I don't know, maybe I'll just pick the first one, recent blocks. It brings up this dialog box. I'll bring it over. That I have more than you probably have. Because I've created some, and the one that we just created was this one, right? ASMEA side. Yeah, it shows when I created it. That's recent ones. Favorites. I don't know what's on favorites. I haven't. Maybe I have to be logged in and have my account to have my access to my favorites. But I do always have access to the libraries of blocks. I have a couple different. I think these ones might be different than the ones I just created. I think the one is this one. Yeah. Okay. I just want to show that. Now, what I want to do is go over to this. I'm going to ignore my viewport for a minute. And if it helps me to ignore it, I'm actually going to select it and just move it off the paper for just a second. It's kind of like looking into model space, which I'm not worried about right now. What I want to do is insert that block now that I created right here onto the paper. So I'm in paper space. I'm not in the model. And I'm going to insert that thing. So insert, what do I want to insert? I want to insert probably the last one that's up. That's it. If it doesn't show, it should show up there for you too. That one. And there it is. I have control over it. It just says, where do you want to put it? Well, I don't have anything. Like I said, there are no grips associated with that paper, so that's a little bit of a disadvantage, but let's just drop it here. Okay, cool. That's it's got like one center grip that I allot, and there it is. But it's not, I need it to be kind of perfectly placed, at least as accurately as I can. I don't want it to be askew here. I want it to be fairly accurate if I'm doing this. So there's a lot of different ways I can do this. If, I didn't choose to bring that paper border in. If I would have, I could have, but I just wanted my block to just be uh, what I've got here actually. So I do want to move it though to be accurate. So here's just kind of like I checked my in the same way that I checked my sheet size was correct for 8.5 by 11. I'm gonna kind of set something that I can grip and attach and move this to. So here's a technique. I'm on the border sheet layer. Okay, maybe I'll just go to some layer. I could paper layer matches too close with this color. So I just need something, even on the zero layer. This is going to be temporary. How about this? I have a construction layer for crying out loud. Uh, turn the layer on. I turned on my construction layer. Yeah, it shows up there. It didn't, I didn't include that construction work as part of my block, which I didn't want to. That's why I kind of turned it off while I created the block. You can see it show up in the model space there again, but I'm gonna use my construction layer to do a little bit of work here. I might not keep this per se, but this is one way that I align my title blocks or something that I might create with the formatting that I've done on my sheet. So I'm gonna grab a rectangle, click on this upper corner. I'm gonna zoom in pretty close so I can kind of pick this corner. There's no grip, so I'm just kind of guessing where that corner starts. There, close. Then I'm going to pull away here. You can see how far I'm zoomed in because that's a really small dimension. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I mean, I zoomed in quite close. So what I want to get to is about a half inch, 0.5. I want to make this 0.5 by zero point 0.5. That's kind of that's the border area, the outside the border area. It's going to be 0.5 tab by zero point 0.5, enter. It's quite I'm zoomed way in. See, that's a half inch square there. Is it perfectly aligned? No, but it's pretty close. It looks like it's higher off than it really is when I zoom really close. But yeah, this is good. This gives me something that does have a grip that I could align something with another grip too. So I'm using that strategically. So here we go. I'm gonna like move my block. That's the only thing I want to move. I want to move it to this very corner. I want to line those two up. And now what I have is I have a, a title block that's centered on my paper that I formatted for 8.5 by 11. Perfect. I could leave it on this. I'm going to delete this one though. I only use it for that one purpose. You don't see me delete my construction work very often. It's pretty rare that I delete construction work, but there I'm going to delete that on this one. So that is really quite finished. Now, what I want to look at here is can I even get in here to modify the text though? I can't. It gives me like, can I edit the text or do I edit the block? No, I'm not going to edit the block right now. I just want to be able to edit the text here. I like that little pinwheel shows up that's annotative. So what I'm going to do here is zoom in. Oh, sorry. I want to explode this thing. So bear with me for a minute. I made my block explodable so that I think I can get to the text independently. Right now, it's all one. It's not a very smart block. It's just a simple like visual representation of a border, but I want it to be a little bit adaptive here. So let's explode this thing. So I'm going to select it. Sorry. I'm going to select explode. Select objects. It's going to be the block that I want to explode, this thing. That thing? Heck yes. Right click or press enter. You can always undo something if you didn't mean to do that. But what it did, it didn't look like it did anything. But when I select over it, I think it's a little bit exploded. Yeah, it kept the border all as one. It kept these. So now I'm a little bit modifiable to modify and I should be able to modify the text. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's good. This is what I want it to do. Now I can actually put the assignment in. What did we say it was? I can't remember. Well, look, inch template, 8.5. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. Inch template, 8.5 by 11. I'll put my name and the date in those too. So let's go back. I like that. Looks good. Matt Rizzi. If you ever wonder how to say my last name, that's how you say it, Rizzi. And then the date. The date that I finished this is actually 9/5/2025. That's awesome. I'm actually going to hit save again because that is now a template. That to me is the template. So what it's funny, what I can go do now is I can actually go out here and all this hard work that I did, I can just delete it. Like I could painstakingly use it to create the next one that I want to do, but I think I'm just going to delete it. And then I go back to here and I have this awesome, I can move my viewport back on here. You might generally when I leave my I don't know, just I like to be able to see the sides of my viewports if they're just like if they're just like a template like this. But like I think I already told you on the last video that I generally have these locked. They're just always locked, just so I know to unlock them when I'm ready to use them and actually move them to where they need to be. But now that is to where I save it. That's really that's really what I need to turn in. So how to turn this in now? Let's just go through that. I still am going to come back probably early next week and do this again on this one. This one obviously has it's a different size of paper, so it's going to need a little bit different title block. And this one's going to work for the assignment that we need to do first. So it's just, I've already set up to plot this thing, right? So at this point, I can hit Control P, or I could come up here and say, I'm on this layout. It knows the page setup for it. I just hit plot, print. It's using that I preset to PDF. Everything's set. I could preview it, which I should always preview what it looks like here. And what I like about the preview is you might think you'll start to get a feel for the line weights that we've established, right? Like you don't see a line weight issue here, but sometimes when I just zoom in or zoom out, there's the line weights kind of showing up. And they will print this way if I actually printed it on our plotter. But anyway, and I think the PDF will look like it has the line weight. So that's the preview. I love it. It looks central. It looks centered up. Good. That's how it's going to plot and print. It's going to go to a PDF though. So I would say, okay. And then it brings you up a dialog box because it's going to not a printer, but it's going to a PDF. Where do you want to put it? Well, I want to put it in my folder. I want to keep a copy for myself and then I want to upload it, right? So then I'm going to say, drive down to your thumb drive, wherever that is. I have my quick access to my thumb drive right here. But this would be, um, I might, yeah, I would, for you guys, I think we've kind of done this in week 2. It was the assignment. I'm actually going to keep mine because I'm keeping mine now in my general area. I think so. That's where my templates are too. It's a PDF. It's got the same name. It kind of populated this name. I'll just leave it like that. You could get it create, anyway. I'll just save it here like that. Sure. Then it generally opens you up a preview. Mine goes into Adobe. Yours might go into some just a web browser, whatever web browser you have open. It might be what open the PDF. And that looks great. It's another look at my template of what it would print like. So then to actually turn in the assignment, sorry, I'm like we should just be able to turn in this. This should be set up to oh, you could double click, you double check through these rubrics are a great way to know if you did it right. These are things I'm going to be checking on it when you upload the file to me. Are the layers created like the handout? Are the line types like the handout? We've correctly created and you've uploaded a DWT file. I should say right here is correctly created the template file, DWT, yes, and then you've uploaded it, yes. The template file plotted line weights correctly. Yeah, that's kind of why I was checking the line weights with in my viewer of my PDF. Looks correct. Looks like I've got some separation of line weights. PDF of template file was uploaded to Canvas. Yep, I haven't uploaded it yet, but I at least created it and saved it into my folder. And the borders and the text created correctly. I think so. And that is the correct text. Yes. So that's kind of my check on if I did this right. You guys would upload this, right? Do I have this assignment set up to be uploadable? I don't know. Let me edit. Let me see if I do. I think so. People have already turned this in, I believe. File uploads. Yeah. So I'll cancel that, but you would upload two things. You're going to upload you always get those little warnings when you do it. You're going to upload this particular file. So the two files you need to upload on all your assignments, I kind of caught this at the end of class too, was I want to upload the PDF and I would want to upload the DWT file in this case. So those two files should be what I upload for this assignment and wherever you saved them. Cool. Stay tuned. I think now we can actually move. I can come back and do the formatting on the other one. I should say setting up the border on the B-size sheet later. I think I would almost now I'm ready to do the spacer assignment actually. With this one, I'm ready to do my spacer assignment. So I'll end this video here and we'll catch you on the next one.